There are men who spend their lives chasing attention, polishing their image, and speaking louder so they can be seen. And then there are men who, without trying, capture attention in a different way. They do not set out to impress, yet their very nature draws others in. These are the Sigma males. What's fascinating is that while Sigma men walk through life believing they are unnoticed, women often perceive far more than they realize. The smallest actions, the quietest habits, the subtle ways they carry themselves, these do not go unseen. In fact, it's often the quiet man in the corner, the one who believes he has blended into the background, who leaves the strongest impression. Women notice details men overlook. They notice body language, tone of voice, and the unspoken confidence that lingers in silence. And while Sigma males are not trying to perform or impress, this authenticity only makes them more magnetic. Ironically, what they think is invisible often becomes the very thing that makes them unforgettable. Consider the way a Sigma male enters a room. He may not announce himself. He may not try to dominate space, but the calmness in his walk, the measured pace of his steps, and the quiet certainty in his posture speak volumes without a word being uttered. This presence is not lost on those around him, especially women. And yet, most Sigma men remain unaware. They assume no one is paying attention to the subtleties. They believe their silence hides them, that their independence shields them from notice. But in truth, those very traits are what draw the sharpest eyes. So today, let's slow down and explore these quiet details, the things Sigma males have no idea women notice about them. You may discover that the very parts of yourself you thought went unseen are, in fact, shaping how others experience you. And if you stay with me until the end, you'll see why the fifth point might be the one you never considered before, but the one that changes how you view your quiet influence. Number one, their quiet confidence. Sigma males often believe that because they do not seek the spotlight, their presence goes unnoticed. They rarely feel the need to broadcast their strengths, boast about achievements, or compete for dominance in social settings. To them, invisibility feels natural, even strategic. Yet the fascinating truth is that women tend to pick up on signals of confidence far more subtly than most men realize. Unlike men who equate boldness with strength, women are often drawn to the quiet assurance that a Sigma carries without saying a word. Psychology and social studies reveal that nonverbal cues, such as posture, stillness, and eye contact, often communicate more about confidence than words ever could. Take, for example, the way a Sigma male sits in a room. He's not restless or fidgeting. He does not need to fill silences with constant chatter. Instead, his calmness communicates something rare in today's fast-paced world: inner security. Social scientists often link this ability to stay composed with higher levels of emotional intelligence, which research shows is one of the most attractive qualities in long-term partners. Women instinctively notice when a man is at peace with himself, because it suggests he won't crumble under pressure or be easily swayed by external validation. Even more interesting is the Sigma's relationship with silence. In a culture that prizes noise, self-promotion, and constant engagement, the ability to be comfortable in silence stands out. Neuroscience explains that silence reduces stress and allows the brain to process information more deeply. And people who embody this often appear more grounded. Women intuitively sense this depth. A man who does not fear quiet moments demonstrates control over his inner world, something that feels magnetic in a society where many chase validation through volume. This quiet confidence is not arrogance, nor is it aloofness. Rather, it is a subtle strength that women perceive as both rare and trustworthy. Studies in body language confirm that steady eye contact, upright posture, and measured movements are all subconscious indicators of confidence. And these are qualities Sigma males often display without trying. The irony is that in avoiding the spotlight, they create an aura that captures attention more strongly than the loudest voice in the room. Women notice and they remember, and this is precisely what sets Sigma males apart. Their power lies not in demanding recognition, but in embodying a calm assurance that makes recognition inevitable. Number 2, the way they listen. Unlike men who rush to speak, Sigma males tend to listen with presence. They allow pauses. They let silence fill the space without rushing to cover it with words. This quality, though often overlooked, carries a quiet strength that women notice immediately. In psychology, this is known as active listening, the practice of giving full attention to the speaker without distraction or preoccupation. Studies show that active listening strengthens trust, builds deeper emotional connection, and reduces misunderstandings in communication. Most men, consciously or unconsciously, listen while preparing their own response, but Sigma males are different. They are content with stillness, allowing another person's words to linger before they offer their perspective. This quiet patience communicates far more than spoken affirmations. Women often perceive this as respect and depth because it signals that the Sigma male values what they say, not just as noise to wait through, but as meaningful insight worth absorbing. In fact, research in relationship psychology suggests that women value being listened to as much as, if not more than, receiving verbal praise. Listening without interruption shows empathy, presence, and emotional intelligence, qualities linked to long-term relationship satisfaction. To the Sigma male, this may not feel like a conscious effort. It is simply his natural rhythm. Yet to a woman, it feels rare and magnetic because genuine listening is becoming increasingly scarce in a world of constant distraction. What's fascinating is that silence itself has power. Neuroscience research points out that silence can help regulate stress, calm the nervous system, and even encourage deeper thought. By allowing silence, Sigma males create a space where the other person feels safe to open up, reflect, and share more freely. This makes women feel not only heard, but also understood on a deeper level. It transforms an ordinary exchange into a moment of connection that lingers long after the conversation ends. So while many men try to impress by talking more, telling stories, or steering the spotlight back onto themselves, Sigma males impress by saying less and hearing more. Ironically, their restraint, which they view as natural and unremarkable, becomes the very thing that sets them apart. Women recognize that in a Sigma male's presence, words do not have to compete with ego, noise, or haste. They flow into a listening ear that values them fully. And in that simple, understated act, the Sigma male reveals a depth that words alone could never capture. Number 3, their independence. Sigma males often go about their lives alone, choosing their own path, keeping their own rhythm. While they may see this as ordinary, women notice the way a man who does not seek approval carries himself differently. The independence shows in his choices, in how he spends his time, and in how he doesn't bend his identity to fit into trends. This independence, subtle as it may be, is a quiet mark of strength that women cannot overlook. From a psychological perspective, independence is one of the most attractive traits in both men and women. Studies in evolutionary psychology suggest that self-sufficiency signals stability, resilience, and the ability to thrive without constant external validation. In modern society, where many are conditioned to follow group norms or chase popularity, the Sigma male's quiet defiance of conformity becomes magnetic. He does not reject society out of rebellion, but rather chooses to operate on his own terms. This creates a sense of mystery that naturally draws curiosity. Women, who often value emotional security and authenticity, find this independence compelling because it reflects a man who's anchored in himself. Think of it this way. When a man doesn't desperately seek to be noticed, his presence becomes more noticeable. This paradox is fascinating to observe. It echoes what sociologists call the scarcity principle. When something is rare, it becomes more valuable. A Sigma male's attention is not easily given, and this scarcity adds weight to his actions and words. Unlike those who chase validation through trends, likes, or constant social display, his value is not determined by external applause. Instead, it is rooted in his inner compass, his private world of discipline, and his ability to walk away from anything that threatens his authenticity. This does not mean Sigma males are cold or unapproachable. Rather, their independence enhances the depth of their connections. Women often notice how such men are intentional with their time and relationships. Every choice reflects thought and self-respect. From the books they read to the way they maintain personal boundaries, or even the calmness in their silence, these subtle behaviors leave a lasting impression. The truth is, independence is more than a lifestyle. It is a statement of identity. And for Sigma males, that statement is clear. They do not live to please the crowd, but to remain true to themselves. In a world of noise, their quiet strength speaks louder than words. Number 4, their eyes and gaze. Many Sigma males underestimate how much their eyes communicate long before they ever speak a word. Unlike men who scatter their attention freely, the Sigma's gaze carries a different weight. When he looks at someone, even for a fleeting moment, the impression lingers. This is not because his eyes are louder or more expressive, but because they are deliberate. In psychology, eye contact is often linked to confidence and presence. Studies show that maintaining steady, calm eye contact signals authority and trustworthiness, while constantly darting eyes suggest nervousness or insecurity. A Sigma male's natural tendency to look only when he means to, and to avoid aimless scanning, is subconsciously read by others as intentional and powerful. Women in particular are sensitive to these cues. Research in social psychology suggests that people can detect sincerity, attraction, and even dominance in a person's gaze. When a Sigma male's eyes meet a woman's, it does not feel casual or wasteful. It feels rare, and rarity is valuable. His eyes are not busy seeking validation from every corner of the room. Instead, his stillness becomes a contrast to the constant social noise around him. That absence of a wandering gaze stands out just as much as the moments he chooses to look directly. The interesting part is that Sigmas often do not even realize this effect. To them, their calm, measured focus feels ordinary, but to others, it can feel magnetic. This ties into what behavioral experts call nonverbal dominance, where a person's posture, eye movement, and subtle expressions create influence without effort. A Sigma's gaze is not about control. It is about self-containment. and that quiet self-possession often says more than words could. Think of it this way. In a world where attention has become cheap, spread thin across screens and crowds, the Sigma's gaze is like a currency rarely in circulation. When it appears, people notice. His lack of restlessness communicates security. His steady eyes suggest depth, and his silence hints at mystery. Women pick up on this instinctively, reading meaning into his looks even when he intends none. In truth, the Sigma's gaze is not just something others notice. It becomes part of his silent language, shaping the aura of presence that makes him unforgettable. Number 5, the calm in their movements. In today's fast-moving world, where the constant rush of footsteps and impatient horns dominate the atmosphere, a man who moves differently naturally draws attention. Sigma males embody this difference not by trying, but simply by being. They don't fidget, chase, or rush. Instead, their movements are steady, intentional, and unhurried. This calm presence often goes unnoticed by themselves, yet it is striking to those around them. Their stillness is not a mask of self-control, but a natural state of being, and this makes them stand out all the more against the noise of urgency in modern life. Psychologists highlight that human beings are wired to read non-verbal cues faster than spoken words. Women in particular are often highly attuned to these subtle signals, as they can indicate safety and stability. A Sigma's quiet composure communicates reliability in a way words rarely can. Research in emotional contagion shows that emotions spread within groups, meaning one person's calm demeanor can reduce stress and regulate the emotions of others nearby. This is why, in the presence of a Sigma, people often feel less anxious, more centered, and more grounded, even if they cannot explain why. Think of places we turn to for peace: a still park, a tranquil sea, or a silent library. Sigma males mirror this energy in human form. While others strive for dominance through noise and bravado, the Sigma's quiet strength becomes magnetic. Long after he leaves, the memory of his calmness lingers, like the refreshing air after a storm. What Sigmas rarely realize is that this quiet presence is influence in its purest form. Without effort, they shape the emotional landscape around them. In a culture obsessed with speed and noise, their slow, steady silence becomes not just noticeable, but unforgettable. Number 6, their silence. To a Sigma male, silence is not awkward, it is natural, almost like a second skin. He does not feel the need to speak just to fill an empty room or to ease the tension others might sense in quiet moments. For him, silence is a comfortable space where thoughts can settle, where observation sharpens, and where energy is conserved rather than wasted. But what he often doesn't realize is how differently women perceive this same silence. In psychology, silence has been shown to trigger curiosity, because the human brain naturally seeks patterns and explanations. When someone withholds words, especially in social settings where chatter is the norm, it creates a subtle mystery. People begin to wonder what is happening behind that calm exterior. For women, this silence often transforms into intrigue. They may wonder what occupies his mind, what he notices that others don't, or why he seems so unaffected by the pressure to perform socially. This phenomenon connects with a well-documented psychological effect called the scarcity principle, the idea that what is less available becomes more valuable. Words that are rare carry more weight, and presence without constant explanation often feels more powerful. Historically, even great leaders and thinkers, from Marcus Aurelius, who practiced stoic restraint, to Albert Einstein, who preferred observation before speech, were known for their quietude. Ironically, the Sigma male often assumes his silence makes him invisible, that by not speaking, he fades into the background. Yet this very restraint becomes unforgettable. Women notice not just the absence of words, but the strength and self-control it implies. In a world saturated with noise, the one who can remain still, measured and composed naturally stands apart. His silence does not erase him, it amplifies him. And while he may believe he is unseen, his quiet presence often leaves the deepest impression. The truth is, Sigma males rarely realize the subtle influence they carry. They move through life quietly, not seeking recognition, not bending to external demands, and not shaping themselves for approval. Yet women notice far more than these men imagine. It is not the performance, but the authenticity. Not the volume, but the silence. Not the chase, but the calm presence that lingers. What this reveals is simple. The very things Sigma males overlook in themselves are often the things that set them apart. Confidence without noise, independence without arrogance, attention without demand. These qualities cannot be staged, and that is why they leave such a deep impression. So if you are a Sigma male, or even someone who feels aligned with these traits, understand this: you do not need to change or exaggerate to be seen. Often the quiet truths you carry are already speaking louder than you realize. Take this not as a call to perform, but as a gentle reminder that who you are in your most natural form already holds value. And sometimes what feels unnoticed is, in fact, the very thing that others never forget.